First of all, I would like to thank all of these beautiful ladies coming to our event. Maraming salamat po from our heart. And our topic for today is Growing Beyond the Bedroom, Women in Leadership. So basically, it's all about women breaking ceilings, shattering stereotypes, and owning the power sit with confidence, style of course, and last but not the least is beauty. So from boardrooms to beyond, we're diving into how women are redefining leadership, lifting each other up, and making waves in every industry. And now I have 4 beautiful, powerful, confident women that I'm gonna invite in front, and I'm gonna introduce them one by one. First, we have this beautiful lady named Mila Bulatao, CEO of Pick.a.roo. Please give her a round of applause. So Mia is a seasoned leader in e-commerce, digital transformation, and customer-centric marketing with a proven track record of driving business growth across multiple industries. Currently, of course, she's the CEO of Pick.a.roo, where she is leading the brand revitalization and pioneering innovative strategies to disrupt the e-commerce landscape. Mia makes sure that the company's vision has the legs, the arms, and the muscles it needs to transform into commercial success. Please welcome Mia Bulatao. Next, we have this lady known as Flip Flop Queen. Her company has been distributing mega brand Havaianas in the Philippines for over 2 decades. Her company also owns Aura Atletica, a pioneer in the local activewear and athleisure space. And Anne itself heads the marketing communications, creatives, customer relations, and product development departments. She is a highly capable marketer and has passion for brand building. Please welcome Anne Gonzalez, CEO and co-founder of Terry SA. All right, the third lady, she has founded a viable solution to Manila notorious heavy traffic motorbikes. She is the founder of motorcycle and taxi service app called Angkas, which has been downloaded more than 8 million times and boasts an impeccable 99.99% safety record. She also is the United Nations Trade and Development Advocate for Women in E-Trade for Southeast Asia. She is champions change and inspiring more women to participate in digital economies. Please welcome Angeline Tham, founder of Angkas. Of course, last but not the least, she serves as the chief growth hacker at Tonik, the Philippines' pioneering independent digital bank, renowned for her strategic and creative vision and leadership style. She brings a wealth of experience and fun to her role. She spearheads innovative and customer-centric initiatives, propelling the bank to the forefront of digital banking excellence. Under her guidance, Tonik has become synonymous with exceptional customer experience in digital banking landscape. Please welcome Mila Bedrenets, Chief Growth Hacker in Tonik. Thank you so much, guys. Please keep yourself comfortable for a few minutes. All right, first things first, I would like to say these 4 beautiful women looking so gorgeous for today. Thank you so much for joining our second panel discussion for MoEngage. So I had my first question to Miss Mia. In your stint as the president and CEO of QuadX, you've driven significant growth in the logistics and e-commerce sectors. Could you share specific challenges you encountered in scaling the company, particularly in male-dominated industry, and how you overcame them?
Yes. Hi. No. Actually, setting cortex public strategy from. Okay. Oh, this is better. Yeah. Okay. Both industry-wide and company-specific challenges. And interesting enough, the the challenge wasn't really operational, but it's more of changing the mindset. Specifically for logistics, it's very, very traditional. So we had to change the narrative from, let's say, logistics being more of a cost center than into a growth driver. And therefore, investments needed to be taken on technology, on customer innovation, data analytics and all of that, which in a traditional logistics company is kind of hard to push as an agenda. So that probably is one. No? On the gender side, well, I would say it wasn't really a problem for me. In fact, I don't know if the other ladies here encountered that as you were like moving up, but interesting enough, the challenge was in terms of gender, was more with women that you were working with, kind of catty than men, you know. So that was I think that's that. Apart from that, male dominated industry, nothing really. It's more of when you're performing, you focus on outcome, you focus on results, and making it a little bit more innovative, looking at data. Because again, as I've mentioned, it's very traditional. So it's more of those things that were challenging more than anything else. It's not even because of the difference in gender.
That's good to hear. So basically, it's just about the costing itself and the operation.
It's not operation, it's the mindset to take on like, automating it, infusing a lot of technology in it, digitizing things, because again, logistics is a very traditional industry to begin with.
Mia's not your regular female. Alisa. Angeline too.
I can watch for that.
I really like how this panel discussion is turning into a talk show. Let's do it this way. So, of course, logistics is a very big part of my heart. I'm an industrial engineer. My forte is supply chain. So I can definitely vouch. Working with, I'm going to say a company's name, working with DHL before back 2017. They're super traditional. We've given them some QR to like scan the code so it's easy to deliver all those. But you know, because we have, let's say that elder people wants to consider traditional. And you know, of course, change is very hard to companies. So that's definitely understandable. Thanks for that, Mia. This is for Anne. So co-founding Terry S.A., you've established a leading fashion distribution and retail company in the Philippines. So what were the initial hurdles you faced in bringing the brands like Habayanas, which is close to my heart, to the local market, and how did you address them?
So first, I have to give a shout out to the previous speakers. In particular, I've never worked with CIMB, but we are happy Union Bank clients and we are tenants of SM. We have also worked with Coadex, and I think many of our employees ride Angkas. But so, and then we got to see, I guess, next what we can do together. But back to your point, yeah, I think, you know, the main challenge was, well, first of all, I'm wearing our brand. So it's chinelas. We grew up knowing nothing else but chinelas being sold in a bin or in a cheap market somewhere. And when the opportunity presented itself, we thought that there was something very unique in terms of being able to position the brand. But coming into a market that was used to paying no more than $1, right? Growing up, we buy slippers for 100 pesos and then have the audacity to say, you're going to buy it for anywhere between 600 to 1,000 pesos. This was before inflation. So I know our products are more now. But so the key for us was being able to deliver on that message and set ourselves apart. Two things were really, I would say, the challenges we had to overcome. Number one was branding. So being able to, like I said, elevate the brand and show people why we were different. So product placement was critical. We sought out retailers, partners, establishments that normally did not carry slippers or flip-flops, and also showed them ways that you could make flip-flops fashionable. Our advantage also, though, that said, is that we never say we invented slippers. slippers have always been part of the Filipino culture. When we were not playing mobile games or gaming in front of our computers, our generation would go out in the street. We played this thing called tumbang preso. You try to toss the, hit the can with your slipper. And so we grew up around that. What we did differently though, and we knew Filipinos had a soft spot for slippers, was make sure we elevated the brand. The second thing in terms of elevating the brand was, for me, the key was building the network. And I think if there's anything that I really have to emphasize, and that, when I tell people, whatever it is you're doing in life, starting a business, starting a career, your goodwill and the goodwill of people towards you takes you it goes on forever. What do I mean by that? The relationships that I built from the very beginning, whether that was the business owner to, I like the word sales clerk. We don't use that anymore, right? Yeah. But it shows our age, right? So even that, from the very humble salesperson in the store, had to treat them the same. Before social media and influencers, the only way to get your brand out was you had to work with magazine editors, glossies, print, and those types. I really had to meet every single person. I built relationships with them. And I remember someone telling me, "Anne, remember that the most junior member of a magazine, which may not even be in the top 3 magazine, will one day potentially be the editor or the owner of that magazine. And you've got to keep those relationships, and they'll remember how you treated them." Full circle, 20 plus years later, as we're revamping the brand, these same people, even sometimes now it's their kids, their nieces, their nephews, we're working with them and they remember that. And so I think those were really, like, in terms of hurdles, like you had mentioned, those were the things we had to overcome. But I think those were the type of obstacles that when you overcome them, it really just pays in multitudes years later.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Relationship, not just with clients itself, but the people you work with, it's gonna get a long way. I'll experience the same thing. Like the people I worked with before now having their own business, like restaurants. I know it sounds ridiculous, but having a relationship with them, they're gonna tell you, "Oh, I'm gonna give you a discount, don't worry, because we're friends." Things like that. And another thing regards branding, I told you Havaianas is very close to my heart because when I was young, wearing Havaianas feels like you're an it girl because everyone wears it. So now it still have the place in my heart. And like my sister told me, slippers have three things to do. One, to wear in your feet. Second is to play with it. Third is a weapon. Weapon for who? For our moms, of course. This is for Angeline. So, founding Angkas, the Philippines' first motorcycle ride-hailing service, required overcoming regulatory challenges and societal perception. So, how did you persist through these obstacles? And what lessons can you share about resilience and innovation of entrepreneurship?
Yeah, thank you for that. And yes, shout out to everyone. I love the crowd and the very curious men. So I think, so Angkas has been around for 8 years. Our first 5 years were really brutal, right? So we got shut down every year, the first 3 years around Christmas. So that was our Christmas present from the government. And really it's because, as you stated, right, people did not believe that motorcycle taxis could be used safely, right? So they said, no, motorcycles are so dangerous. 50% of them who die from vehicle accidents are motorcycle drivers, right? So we're like, okay. But, when we looked at it, and then at first, so when I first started running it, it was really to help commuters like you and I get through the traffic, right? In fact, I rode an Angkas here because the traffic was so bad from Makati. And I think that still holds true today. But then we've also gotten to know our drivers really well. And it's really when we started looking at maybe the second or third time, we're like, government, why do you hate us so much? Everything we do is so much better than what's out there, right? There's habal, informal motorcycle taxis. And, they'd have no insurance, no training, most of the time no driver's license. And we do all of these things and even more. I have even higher standards than your rules that you have put out on for traffic. And I think what lessons we learned from that is that number one, we always believe that we must run a business safe. So that's the first pillar of our company, right? So to run a business safe, it means that you have to invest, you have to take the time to train, you have to take the time to get to know your drivers and the challenges that they face. And because of we invested in that, the free training for over, I would say, 2,000 to 3,000, 100,000 drivers, is that people just need an opportunity to do better. All right, and this is why we're now able to have a 99.997% safety record over all the 8 years. It's because of this. All right, so the government did not believe that people could change, and when we started looking at the landscape, the reason why drivers are driving like this is because there's no infrastructure to support motorcycle taxis or motorcycles in general. Right, there's no training program. There's only one training school in the entire country. There are 18 million motorcycles out there. And people who think that if I ride a motorcycle, if I know how to ride a bicycle, I must know how to ride a motorcycle, right? It's like same logic, but it's absolutely untrue. And which is why we had to build the safety standards for that. So I think number one is understanding really what the root of the problem is. Number two, saying the same thing over and over again to change people's minds, right? So in the company, it's like you have to tell someone 7 times before they actually hear it, right? And in the government's case, we had to say it for like 3 years before they actually heard it, right? So you have to keep saying the same thing again. Like you have to say it till you think like, I don't understand why this person still asks me the same question, right?
You have to say it until you believe it. That's an interesting fact because even in fashion, so of course I'm in that business, so I have to follow trends. And there is a statistic in fashion, and I just don't know the exact number right now, but when it comes to, you always have early adopters or people who set the trends, and then people who it trickles down. And for those of you who watch The Devil Wears Prada, right? It is very much, well articulated. And there is a certain number of times where people need to see something in fashion before they actually embrace it and say, okay, I'm gonna wear it. But the first few times, yeah, and it's interesting because same thing with when we launched Abayan, it's like, no way am I wearing slippers out in public. But we kept pushing the boundaries. We partnered with different stores that were selling designer jeans and designer clothing and, just giving them a different way to look at it. And I think they kept seeing it repetitively until finally we were really able to break and hit really that, I would say, broader acceptance in the market.
Yeah, so just repeat yourself and try to say it in different ways, right? So 99.997% safety record sounds super boring, right? But then we came up with a Safer Than Condoms campaign. So yeah, so basically, guys, condoms is only 98% safe. Yeah, very radical note.
Control pills are even lower.
Yeah, you can get started with birth control and condoms too, yeah. So just FYI for all the ladies out there, right? So if you trust condoms, you must trust Angkas, right? So that's also another thing. I think that's where we were very successful in changing mindsets, which is through our marketing. So actually, a lot of people follow our social media even though they don't ride Angkas. But that's what you got to do to change mindsets, right? Because even my first customers, they love us. They write us 3 times a day, and I will call them and say, hey, I know you really love us. Can you put a post on social media or tell your friends? And they're like, oh, I'm so sorry. I super love you guys, but you're like my dirty little secret, right? I can stop 1 street away from my house so my family members don't see me on a motorcycle. All right, but then that's what we had to change over time. All right, so to be creative.
It's definitely true. I think we just have to came up with a way of how to say the things that we want in a repetitive way, but also in a creative way. And just to clarify why I know 98% is because I'm a part of the LGBT group. So that's why
Sure.
And I know, like I said, the more I explain it, the more it's gonna get worse. I understand that as well. Thank you so much. And also, this is a very good way because my dad as well my dad is 62 already. And then when I'm gonna tell him I'm gonna go out, he said, oh, sasakay ka na naman na Angkas. So I think it's also a good
Thanks to your dad.
Yeah, because my dad, I think it's also a good thing because most of the elderly people right now, they use the word Angkas for the motorcycle. So my next question is for Tonik Bank, the first neobank in the Philippines. You played a pivotal role in revolutionizing digital banking. So how have you approached growth strategies in a conservative banking environment? And what challenges have you faced as a woman in this field?
First of all, hello, my name is Mila, and I got my first slippers when I was 18 years old. Yes. But I got my first snowshoes in the age of 1, I believe, so. So it's a very interesting to hear how embedded slippers are in your culture. So back to serious topics. How did we do it? Well, first, we are still doing it. It's been 5 years ago since we launched. And how did you say about first 5 years? Brutal. Yeah, exactly. So we are living through those still. And first of all, it was really interesting coverage from Shireen, right? From CIMB about how pandemic helped them. Well, we were already launching into pandemic, and we launched a bank without seeing each other like at all. So we never been to Philippines. I mean, no, I was once. Second time it was the volcano eruption, because it's never boring here. So that's why my flight was canceled. So that could be my second time in Philippines. Yeah, and after that, pandemic, and we launched through pandemic, completely online. And first time I saw my team, I think 1 year after we launched, something like this. So that was fun. So we one office in India, one office in Singapore, one office in Philippines, who never saw each other. Like complete strangers. That was of course a challenge. When it comes to my approach to growth, I would say, sorry, those are my shades. I have really big eyes, so sometimes the lights they blind me.
I know has the problem here, so I just commented, you can tell this is a group of crazies because it's a very different from the first panel. Like, and so we're so emotional and it kind of like all over the place. But we get stuff done. We get stuff done.
Mostly. To
997%. So just say we're safer than condoms.
Oh, it's getting worse. So about my approach to growth, first of all, what exactly is Chief Growth Hacker? How is it different from just sales or just marketing? Because the way I approach it, the growth it's wider. Growth is mathematical equation to me with a lot of variables, and very seldom those variables would come just from marketing or just from sales. So you have to build the complete funnel of how things are going through you, how you convert from, I don't know, whatever, joining from launching on the market to actual sales, to portfolio, to revenue. And this will be like, 200 steps funnel. And approaching each step of the funnel will make you go so much outside of your, not just the comfort zone, but also your mandate. So I had to interfere into the things that no sales or marketing people before interfered. So I had to go into tech, I had to go into compliance, into operations, into underwriting, into customer due diligence, customer service, everywhere. So everywhere, that's why I'm not the most favorite person in my company, because I have to do all this. And I annoyed them all, because eventually you can poof on the numbers that these things are preventing me from growing here. So I don't know, the drop off on the ID scanning here gives me that much less sales here, or bad customer service here, or someone didn't pick up the phone here, so it influences me here. So I'm always number back, then I can prove that. So this is probably what my approach to growth hacking. Treating it as a mathematical equation. Everything is numberable, and you can count that. And you go very much outside of what am I supposed to be doing on just sales and marketing position. Did I meet any problem as a woman? Yeah, but like initially I come from the cultural background where we don't really have much of an equality between men and women. Actually, in the previous bank that I was working for back in Ukraine, most of the top managers were mostly men, but they were foreigners, and Ukrainian local middle management were almost all women. It was completely women driven, and they grew to the top management. So, and that's how the whole top management became, at certain stages of the bank, women mostly. So I come from the background where it wasn't really a big problem, but of course then I moved to Asia, and then when things became interesting, so of course I met a couple of bad people. I am sorry, Nix. This is my peer manager who is already embarrassed. You can always rely on me to embarrass you, Nix. So a couple of people who insisted that I should stick to more girly kind of areas, like do your PR or do your communication. I'm like, what do you mean my communication, my PR? I do need to do sales. To do sales, you need to make sure your application is up, right? Right. So, but again, for me, it was a bit strange. I'm not used to it. So I basically ignored it, or I stood up to it, or called it out immediately. The more complicated thing that I met as a woman is the work-life balance, because I have very, very good answer about the lady from, I think, Metro, right?
Metro Bank.
She asked about what do you sacrifice anything? Yeah, of course, because I have 11 years old son. My husband is working in Mongolia with shifts. So most of the time I'm alone with my kid. And this is when it became complicated, because I'm the only top manager who doesn't have a housewife who is taking care of the children and home and food and everything else. So, and it's not just that I have to sacrifice something, work less, but when your environment consists of men who just say, okay, let's go to the bar and discuss it there. Yeah, so let's go meet these guys for dinner and so on. And you're like, okay, but yeah, I have another dinner plans. Yeah, because I need to cook, or tomorrow he needs to wear Indian traditional costume to school. That's my favorite. Mama, tomorrow I need this. Yeah. So navigating between these challenges, that was much more complicated, because it's difficult to get understanding from your peers and from your boss, who each of them have a wife at home who doesn't work and take care of kid.
I cannot give any insights about being a wife and being a career woman.
We can.
But I believe this
Or even if you have a husband here, you still have to do that stuff. So
How about these two beautiful ladies? Do you want to add up with those discussion is career woman and with the kid, or being a wife or a partner?
So I'm a mother of two girls. My story is a little different. Nowadays it's a nothing story, right? But I went to Catholic girls' school. Had my eldest daughter is 27, so I had Adriana at 19. As a freshman in college. So I did things sort of the different path. I had my daughter, and then I graduated college, tried the corporate life, realized not for me. My husband, we weren't married yet, and I started the business. Then I got married. But through this entire journey, and now we have another daughter. Through this entire journey and until today, I have to say, and it speaks to what the earlier panelist said. To be an empowered woman, guys, you cannot discount the men. You need good men in your life. And whether that is a husband, because not everybody has a husband. It could be a father, a brother, a friend, it's very important. You have to put them into the fold. And I think for me, there was always a feeling of I could be vulnerable. I could ask for help if I needed to. I could depend on people. You need men that will uplift women. And I think that was my path. I really had the good fortune from day one to have very good men in my life. My father is 91. I adore him. And, even in my company, I like what they say about meritocracy and I always say you can be gay, straight, bi, you can come to the office with a third eye, but you come in with talent and grit, we will take you. And I think that's, I'm kind of straying here, but really in the end, I think to be women and to be able to do, all the roles, to occupy all the spaces that we need to occupy, we do need the men. And so I also encourage, my sisters are mothers to boys, and they always tell me it's a big responsibility because they need to raise good boys. They need to raise good men to support women. And beyond that, it's not just men and women. There's so many genders, and it's so important that we all support one another. I know it sounds, a little bit, a little bit head in the clouds, but I think it really, because that was my experience, I can really speak to it and say it mattered to me that I had good people in my life, regardless of really whether they had a penis or a vagina or anything in between.
That's so true. All that mine is kind of similar to what Anna has said, but I think I'm more of an advocate of not to take away from work-life balance, but more of work-life integration. And we're in the Philippines. It's kind of easy to get a lot of help. We have household staff and all that. My most influential person in my life actually is my Yaya Gina. So she helps me a lot, and we're very, very close. So she's like my daughter's second mom. And they say I love you and all that. So I have that. I have a very supportive husband and family, sisters and all that. But I think it's my household staff that does all of those things. And then, throughout the day, especially now that it's digital, I can work anywhere on my phone and all that stuff. Or when my daughter was younger, I do her homework with her, and then when she's asleep, then I'll go back to work. So those things. I think it's a matter of balancing which ones really you needs a lot of your time, and you carve out a little of that throughout your day. But especially for us women, I think the first panel talked about multitasking and all of these things. That's when work-life integration, kind of helps a lot.
Thank you. Do you want to add something, Angeline?
No, I mean,
George is perfect.
George is, but yes, my husband tried to like seed that into everybody's mind. George is perfect.
See something else I think.
It's okay. He knows I'm the better half. Not a secret. No, I mean, I think all the ladies have said it, right? So strong men, I think, to support women is very important because that really helps you thrive. Support is also very important. But I think for me, it's been a journey because I used to work with my husband and now he's campaigning. He's running for a party list. Angkas, okay, that's just right. And I don't see him anymore, right? I used to see him 24/7 because we work together, and now I don't see him anymore. And I think that really makes you think about the relationship, that whether you take it for granted or not. So now it's like, okay, he supports me. I know that I'm comfortable that he supports me and I support him. And it's being able to have that communication to talk about things. And which is why I also recommend therapy for everyone. Therapy is amazing. When you're sick, you go to a doctor. When you're having relationship problems, you go see someone for it, right? Same thing. So there's no shame in that. And I think it actually helps to bridge the gap between the way men and women think. And for me, I'm from a different culture as well. So that's really something I would recommend for everyone. It's super, super helpful. Yeah.
Thank you. So going back to Mia, your career basically includes roles in customer loyalty and marketing. So how did this experience prepare you for your role in Pick.a.roo? And what advice do you have for women aiming to transition into executive roles?
All right. It helped me a lot. Marketing is about understanding people. So, customers, partners, communities, and because of that, I think I draw a lot from it and to create value for those communities and the people that I work with and the communities that we serve. So that one definitely helped. Loyalty is about engagement, long-term value. And this is where you look beyond a product or just acquiring customers into creating relationships with them. So those two things are very vital in what I, not just in Pick.a.roo, actually I take it everywhere with me. In fact, what you learn about leadership is not to change yourself for the role, but rather you bring in a lot of who you are, your perspective into it, and you shape the role itself. So a lot of those things come into play. So when you ask me, okay, what do you need to transition into executive roles? One, leverage on your strengths. The first panel talked about communication, empathy. We talked about intuition, but I'd say customer intuition. Those are soft skills that are, I feel, very good leadership tools. The second one, numbers talk. So especially when you're in an executive role, business acumen is important, and therefore you have to make sure that your strategy is backed up by measurable impact, by measurable results. So that's critical as you move into or transition into an executive or any leadership role for that matter. The third one is own your seat at the table, and this is especially so for women. Speak up. Don't wait for permission. Speak up, make sure your ideas are heard, and contribute a lot, bring in a lot of value to the organization. That's important, especially for those that are normally men speak, with so much bravado and will talk over you. So this is so important that you own your seat at the table.
I like the part where she said, Mia said about speak up, because actually we women tend to be more timid. We tend to be more embarrassed when you say things. I will observe it not just here in Philippines, but when you went to Japan, they keep saying sorry even if they're not the one at fault. So I think that's the thing that we need to spread, not just in women in general, but all the people to speak up. When you think that you have an idea that's gonna be incredible, I remember I read it in the book that when you speak up, you don't know how big the idea is unless you make it or you say it. So I think that's the thing that I really like about your...
But I think to that, right, the question is, what is the worst that could happen if I say it? Right, like, come on. And maybe you get embarrassed or someone says no, but so what?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's really the barriers in your head to just say, if I say it, what's going to happen? If the worst is going to happen, it's not something catastrophic, right? Then just do it.
Yeah. As long as you're not gonna kill someone when you say something, then definitely it's a good, right? What strategies have you employed to maintain brand relevance, which we discussed a while ago, branding? And what suggestions do you have for women aspiring to lead in this sector?
So 2 questions. I don't want to get technical. I think that can get a little boring if you talk about strategies. I think more from a big picture. The one thing, if you are in marketing, especially brand like the brands that we have, or Athletica, Vianas, you always have to have a finger on the pulse. You have to evolve. I tell you, if marketing, especially now, everyone can relate, it can turn on a dime. Tomorrow, something else is new, something is brighter, flashier. It's a better way of doing things. So to me, I always say, in my space at least, if you want to work in the industry that I am in, you have to always be eternally curious. And you will really find opportunity and inspiration in everything. So one of my favorite things really is when I travel, sitting in a cafe, putting myself not just in the hotel, but in the neighborhood, watching people. I really love observing human behavior, and whether they're young or old, because all of these things inform you and it really puts your pulse on the zeitgeist. So I am a Gen Xer. And after me, there's, we like to put labels, millennials, Gen Z, Gen Alpha. And so I'm already to them like pretty much in later age, right? And yet we're selling a product that is, our business thrives on youth culture. And I have to make sure that I keep myself educated. And I think that's the most important thing. I think the day you stop learning it as a marketer, or actually even in life, is really the day you stop growing. So that's one. That's one thing. Also, my team, some of whom are here, it's very important to surround yourself with the right people and hire and work with the right team members, because I need to listen to other people. I can't pretend to know everything. I need to know what is the language that people are using, what are the trends and all of these things, and really being accepting of things I don't know. I think your second question was advice.
Yes.
So earlier they talked about, I like what Camille said about finding role models. And I think that the best advice I can give is, once you've identified your role models or people you really look up to, and they can be famous or not, look at the qualities in them that you admire, their characteristics and skills. And I think it's very important to surround yourself around people who embody those things. Not one person is going to have it. So you also have to expand your friend group, your network, be around people who even challenge you and take you out of your comfort zone. Because I think the more, like going back to repetition, the more you're around that kind of energy, and guys, time is so precious. It's finite, right? You want to use it well. So if you put yourselves, for women, around women you aspire to be and want to learn from, I think that also really can propel you to accomplish the things you want to accomplish. And however you do, like they said, that success that you want to reach, you define it for yourself. But know that you have to be around that energy as well. You need people to inspire you and inform you.
I also like because I like about curiosity. One of my manager now is always telling me curiosity never ends. That's the number one rule that I should have in my role. Curiosity should never end. Keep asking questions. If you don't understand anything, keep asking it. Even if it sounds stupid, even if you think it's silly, just keep asking questions. No, he hates me because I keep asking questions. But nevertheless, you're right as well that having the right people surrounding you also makes it feel better to work, and also it makes you feel better as a human itself. Because I have experience that it's surrounded by wrong people, I can say, and it makes my energy down, and I always doubt myself. But now, like I said, being surrounded with good people with good energy, to be exact, it's gonna make you feel better. And that's the time that you're gonna start to think, okay, I think I'm a bit content on what I have. I feel the happiness on what I have.
But also, that's very balanced. I'm not saying live in a bubble, because the other thing, you don't want to be in silos. You don't want to be with people who only agree with you, and yes women and yes men. I think that's the most dangerous part, actually. And so for me, it's about, sometimes there will be negative energy or there will be pushback, and that's part of growth. And I think that, as Mia said, that is actually good. So you have to be around people who will all question your decisions and really challenge you. You have to be uncomfortable. Being successful means always being in that odd space sometimes of discomfort and nervousness and uncertainty.
Thank you for that. So, to Angeline, as a female founder in the tech and transportation sectors, how have you addressed gender biases, and what initiatives have you implemented to support other women in these industries?
So I think we're fortunate enough in the Philippines where gender bias isn't really such a big difference, right? I grew up in Singapore, so similarly as well, I had a lot of female role models that actually, like, I was in banking before, and all the top positions were females. So I never really felt that I had, I never felt that kind of discrimination in a way. So I think Philippines is also fortunate that for most things, most roles, that's also true. But I think it's our own limitations that sets us apart, right? Like you said, being afraid to speak up, being afraid to ask for more. being afraid to have a seat at the table. I think that's really self-limiting beliefs, right? So I think it is, and again, like what Mia was saying, I really think we should embrace what we have, right? There's no one way to be successful. There's no one best way to run a company. There's no one best way to be like number one boss. It's really use whatever you have to do the best that for the people around you, right? I mean, my basic premise is, be very clear on what North Star you're trying to get to, how you want to do that, what impact you want to leave for the people around you. And as long as you have your principles in place, then just move forward based on that. How do I help other women in the industry? One is really to inspire, right? Having good role models, being sure to make sure that so like what the thing Shireen was saying, right? It's meritocracy. I don't hire people based on whether you're male or female. I hire people because you can do the work, and we have to just ensure that we have diversity, right? So we do strengths finder in the company, and I actually realized that I think like maybe 8 out of 10 of my management team has 2 things that we share out of the top 5, which is like, one, we love to solve problems, which I guess in our case is good because there's a lot. And then the other thing is that we relate to people, right? So that was also a wake-up call for me to say like, hey, you know what? Maybe I'm hiring too many people who look like me, and I need to be uncomfortable to hire people who would challenge and tell me like, yo, is that really the way you want to do things? And actually, from a foreigner looking in, I think what we need to do, not just for women, is to really make sure that people speak their truth. So practice the things like, the boss should always speak last. I realize that the problem for us running operations, and I'm very involved on a day-to-day, is that anything I say, even if I'm saying like I suggest or like, hey, maybe think about this, then it's like it gets done and nobody asks why, right? I'm like, dude, if it doesn't make sense and you don't agree with it, then tell me, right? I'm very open to hearing like, I'm sorry, I think that's a really dumb idea, right? So feel free to tell me that, but tell me why. So if you can't justify it, then so I think that's the culture change for everyone that we need to drive, which is like, if something doesn't make sense, speak, say it, right? It's like, that's really where we need to get to ensure that there's change, not just from your people around you in your company, but also for this country. All right. So yeah, that's my 2 cents.
That's good. Thank you for that. So for Mila, as a chief growth hacker, Tonik Back has achieved remarkable milestone under your leadership. So how do you cultivate a culture of innovation within your teams? And advice do you have for women aiming to lead in fintech?
Yeah, just a lot of things that I had in mind when I saw this question before were already answered, right?
We saw your answers, cheat sheet.
But yeah, how do I drive innovation? Again, quite close to what you already covered. I encourage to ask why. Why I want them to build the house, not lay the brick, and to know exactly which house and who will be living in it and what do we need it for. And not just from me, from everyone else. And that is quite a challenge here in Philippines, because I come from a little bit different background. In my case, I was specifically coached to shut up, not to speak up. Yeah, so I have a different problem. I mean, to speak less, yeah, and to not speak when it's not needed. So it's a different problem. So when I'm here in Philippines, I see that, yeah, of course, we need people to speak up. We need them to be more assertive, because Filipinos are too kind. If it was in Europe, I would be teaching my team to be probably kinder. But here, since everyone is already very kind, I need to, too kind. Yeah, exactly. Too kind. I need to teach them to be tougher at certain situations, more assertive, especially girls. And how I do it, of course, with my own example, but I'm trying to have their back always. So in case something happens, they should rely on me, even if that she had an idea or he had an idea and that idea was stupid, but they went for it. So yeah, okay, it didn't work, but I will back them up in front of the others because I don't want people to stop making mistakes, at least new mistakes. Well, same mistake 2-3 times in a row, that's already different story, right? Yeah, sure. Oh, and of course, to question the status quo, it sounds cliche. Yeah, but when you are building something as, how you call it, dinosauric, as a bank, then you will have a lot of interesting idea, that kind of legacy that came from you don't know even when, and it usually comes in the shape of, here in Philippines we do like this, and then of course
My goal this year is to hire people or teach people first principle thinking, right? Like break everything you know about the business and rebuild it based on what is relevant now. It's so hard. But you're right. You have to just keep asking why, be curious, and just like question.
And also, I don't hire people from banks. Speaking of hires, by the way, I'm looking for a campaign manager to run MoEngage. MoEngage. So if anyone is looking for a job, please ping me and they
So paging for someone who's looking for a job as a campaign manager for Tonik. I was about to say, oh, okay.
Women support women, Sirish.
Thank you for that. Now, ladies, we're going to a part where you can say whatever you want based on the question that I'm going to ask you. First things first is, the first question to be exact is about mentorship. So mentorship and support networks are crucial for professional growth. So can you share an experience where mentorship played a significant role in your journey, and how do you mentor aspiring women leaders today? Whoever wants to go, Chris, is okay.
But I think for me, in this day and age, I feel mentorship is a little bit outdated, right? Because there's so much information out there. There are people who do podcasts, there are people who write books, there are people on YouTube. You have like information everywhere. You have ChatGPT, right? I'm asking ChatGPT to like train me to be a better CEO. You know what I mean? So yes, mentorship is important. I think it's important to seek out people who you think who can give you a different viewpoint to your specific issues, right? Who've done it before. So I don't disagree with mentorship. I'm just saying that we don't have to do it the traditional way that we think about mentorship, which is to go to someone and say, hey, are you willing to mentor me for this? Right? I think actually just going up to them and say, hey, can I have some of your time? I like to learn from you, from your experience, given what we're going through right now. I think people are always very happy to share information. It may not need to be something formal, but this is the way to learn what you need from various sources, not just people, but also everything out there in the ether, right? Of course, fact check, right? ChatGPT doesn't always say the truth. So you need some common sense there, and you can just like triangulate data to get to where you want to go. And then I'm also part of organizations. So EO is a great organization, entrepreneurs organization that does have a formal mentorship program, right? Where you mentor and you also get mentored for specific things. So for me, my learning there is that if you do want to get into formal mentorship, it would be great beforehand to set expectations of how it's going to be done, and so there's a clear agenda and follow-ups, right? Because that really makes you accountable as well, and it helps you really focus on the right things, right? Because when you meet for an hour, you spend 30 minutes like chatting about the weather, right? So then that's not a good use of time. So just being very intentional about that also matters. And then I think just having a group of people that you can meet to just share issues. So I've learned that like EO is really great because you have a group called a forum where like maybe 6 to 8 people get together on a monthly basis to talk about issues that really matter to them, right? So when you start sharing in a group, you start realizing that I'm not alone, right? Like I'm not insane to have thought this was the problem. I'm not alone in facing problems of finding good talent, right? I'm not alone in feeling very inadequate in what I'm doing. So I think finding your group, it doesn't need to be something formal, but finding a group of people who are in similar situations from different backgrounds is also very valuable. Yeah.
I want to add kind of a little bit of pushback with not pushback, but I think add to or maybe supplement what you were saying, because so I love podcasts. I like being said all these Substacks, these articles, and again, like you said, everything is a chat GPT away. But again, because I grew up, I'm the youngest of 4 siblings. My eldest brother is almost 60. My parents are both alive and well at 91 and 82. Don't discount the wisdom of old people. We're so quick to throw old people away. And think, okay, what's new, what's in technology, gotta look to the young. But I always find a lot of mentorship, and again, this is in agreement with you, where it's mentorship in a different form, is I really do love to sit with the titas and the titos and the lolas and the lolas, because they have lived. My father lived through World War II. I mean, that's rare. He's basically an archaeological, at this time, like a specimen. And the things, it just helps you understand how we got to where we are today. And I think that's just, the balance of, again, you have technology, but you also have some of the brightest people around you who have lived. And even if it's not age, it could be people who have just been through a lot in their life. It's really the shared lived experiences that are critical. And I think, so you have formal organizations like EO, I think there's YPO as well. This thing that you've put together, I think, is wonderful. And then the last, I think, for me is, with my team, at least I'd like to believe and speak up, I do have an open door policy. People know they can come to me for anything. And some are more shy than others, admittedly, but many people who have been able to overcome that, it's really growth for them and a lot of learning.
Thank you for that.
All right. I guess my perspective on this is that first you have to know yourself, like truly understand yourself. That's self-awareness, and be guided by a certain purpose that you live by. Because unless you know yourself, unless you have that self-awareness, no amount of mentorship is going to help you. All right. You need to know, okay, what am I looking for? What do I want to do? Where do I want to take my life? And then build that network around it. Things like this, I say, I know, like, I don't know if you guys are in startup communities. They are very, very good because there's a lot of idea sharing that's happening in there. So I think the best mentorship is that you're not getting it from 1 or 2 people. You build a network. I think it was being discussed and mentioned, thrown out here several times already, because you want to get different perspectives, and then you distill. Unless you know yourself very well, unless you have that awareness and authenticity, then you wouldn't be able to distill, okay, what's going to work for me, and take ownership of that mentorship, and where you want to take your life. And normally that's guided by the principle or the purpose that you're working or aspiring towards.
Good. How about you, Mila? Do you have anything you want to
I
say?
answered the question already.
I told you to go first. Back to next.
Okay. No, but actually, I just wanted to add a little bit that I was not lucky to have a woman mentor in my life. All my bosses and big people career-wise were men somehow. But and even today, I agree that mentorship is a little bit outdated concept as it is, because there is no one way to be a leader. And eventually with age, you understand that you will not change that much. You will never be, sleep 4 hours, never breakfast alone, and all this concept that you read in the books. You will never be there. You are the way you are, and you just have to accept yourself the way you are and play your strengths and don't try to reach something that you will never reach. So that's why the very exact mentorship I wasn't very lucky with, but I very much resonate with what you said about the forum of sharing, because my best experience was when I was sharing with two colleagues in the same kind of, again, arranged kind of coaching mentorship space, and then you understand the same, that you're not alone, that something that you've been chewing with your brain, like that this is wrong and this is wrong and he said this wrong, then suddenly you have someone who thinks the same and you that you can share this with. So that is precious. And again, as you mentioned before, you might not necessarily have an idea before you start talking. So it comes through. You start to go, you just start, I don't know, not complaining, but explaining the situation. And the moment you put things into words, there is a bulb lightened and you have the solution and you kind of understand things better, clearer.
That's true. We have those eureka moments, like, oh, when you start talking and then just understanding things. So second to the last question, I would like you to go first. So one of the most important question is, what's the path to getting a seat at the leadership table?
Boobs. Big ones. No, I'm kidding.
Beep, beep, beep. Just to give a heads up to everyone, we're having a parental guidance here. It's 18 plus here.
No, but that helps.
Of course, I know, right? Yes. Yes, it's an asset.
Use what you have.
Yes, flaunt it, right? But go ahead.
The feather was running by playing your princess. No, but seriously, I think for women to get a seat on the leadership table first, it's hard work. I'm sorry, but no one was kind of born this way. And no one is born in a way that he's already to sit at the table with the company leaders or founders. It is always a hard work, but still a lot of curiosity and constant learning. Without this, you will never reach there, definitely. And resilience, because it's very easy to break on the way. There are so many things. How you call those 5 years? Brutal, yes, brutal. Thank you. Short-term memory.
7 times.
Yeah, so if you don't have it, you will never reach it. And even if you reach it and you don't have it, and this is actually a thing that I think big strengths of women. Somehow we seem weaker, but we are stronger. We are more resilient. We don't crash under stress as much and don't give up as fast. So, yep, that's what I would say.
Thank you, Pervap. How about the three beautiful
I like what she said, because similarly, and also because my background is, I started the business from scratch. And I don't want to dramatize it. Like, I was lucky. I came from a rather advantaged background. But in the end, it still was hard work. And it was a business that started in the bedroom of my eldest brother who moved out. We had 0 employees. Now we're almost 500 employees nationwide. We're one of the key markets of the brand. But I always tell people who ask me, even my own daughters, because I do, it's sort of like the school of hard knocks, which is you don't deserve a medal because you were born. You don't have a seat on the table because you deserve it. You have to earn it. It really is hard work. There's no other secret to it. You can inherit it, but many times people who just inherit it, I mean, no, in the culture now they talk about the Nepo babies and all of that. But if soon enough, people will see through it, and you will realize you will also fail if you don't have the tools. So things cannot be given. You have to earn it every step of the way. It is blood, sweat, and tears. It is brutal. But it's always keep your eye on the prize. And I think it's so important to to dream and think big. And when you get to that place, whatever it is, however it is you define it, remember that you are never too big for the small things. So if you have to get back down on your knees, scrub a floor before the customers come in, open the boxes, cover for your team, then you do it because you're never bigger than anybody else.
That's nice. I'll go for also, you're never too small for the bigger things, So you always have the courage to break rules. I think my phone is that. No, there are no rules, right? So, no, seriously, you always have to break those rules. What's important is that you know the rules you're breaking. You always have, I think Angeline mentioned that earlier, just keep on disrupting. It's better to disrupt from within than be disrupted, by someone else. That one, plus, I think, sorry about this, but personal branding. It's also important, all right? This is when I say that you're not too small for those bigger roles. So that just take it and make sure that you deliver results, and that goes along with hard work.
How about you, Angeline? Do you want to add something onto it?
I mean, I think the only thing I would add here is intentions matter, right? So I feel I am where I am today, but I feel like for a long part of my early life, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I'm really very go with the flow. Yeah, okay, sure, let's do that, right? But looking back, I really think that if I had the self-awareness to reflect more and decide what I want and go for it, right? Life would be different, right? So, there are always different journeys for everybody, right? You have to enjoy the journey. I enjoyed the journey, but I look back and I'm like, oh, should I have done that better, right? Which is I'm now projecting on my child. What do you want to do? You want to be a soccer player? Do you know what you have to do to get there? Are you willing to do what it takes? So maybe too intense for an 8-year-old. But it's stuff that I wish my parents instilled in me, right? Because I would have spent more of my life maybe being more intentional about what I want to do. So if you want to be a manager and you want to manage people, then set that intention and figure out how to get there. Because life doesn't just happen to you. You gotta want it and you gotta get, not everyone's so lucky, right? So you gotta know what you want and go for it. So I think that's what I share.
Thank you for that. So for our very last question, as a woman leader, what kind of magic do you want to leave behind? That's like magic. Let's just say transportation, levitation, flying magic. So what kind of magic do you want to leave behind? And how will you inspire future women generations to dream big, shine bright, and light each other up?
Marvel.
Again?
I said, parang you were gonna eulogize ourselves already.
It's more like we wanted to understand what kind of legacy you wanted to share to the future generation of women.
It's kind of deep, no? So I think the most you can think of is as long as you inspire someone in a positive way, that's a big thing. That's a big thing. Even the next person.
Yeah, I think I don't want to be pompous about it and sound like we've achieved so much in our lives. We're still getting there. I think we're all on this journey together, right? But when I always think about the back of my head, I just always tell myself, Ang, whatever happens, just think you did the best you could, the best you know how. We can be so hard on ourselves, but ultimately that's what you knew at that time. Those are the resources you have. Those were the tools in your arsenal, and you will make many mistakes. Be more forgiving, forgive yourself. But yeah, I think it's just always try the best. It's cliche, but it is a cliche because there is truth to it, right? So you really just have to try your best. But to say, legacy, that's so loaded. I think I leave that to the people who will speak about me when I'm long gone.
Oh, that's good. Thank you for that. So any more last words for the ladies in this society, in this room right now? Let's go. Let's start from you again, Mila.
I just finished thinking about magic.
Oh, you to be about magic. I mean, you can share it now.
No, I don't think about it as a legacy. It's rather something that I would wish happened,
Yes.
which is, I'm trying to put it in word and put all the pieces of the puzzle together, because I think if there are more women like us, and better, smarter at least than me, in power, on the top of the society, making decisions, doing things better. I'm sorry, but I truly believe, like this, what was his name? Targaryen. No, it doesn't matter. So, no, the short one.
Oh,
Yes.
oh,
Tyrion Lannister says that it's women who should rule. And I truly believe that eventually, if there will be more women in power, if societies will be ruled more by women, they will do better. For many reasons. So there will be more peace, because we have this instinct of preserving people because they are our sons, daughter, more empathy, more compassion, more caring about things rather than measuring our whatever we were born with.
Don't make me censor you again.
I think if there's anyone credible enough to speak, it is Mila, knowing, well, my background is actually European studies. So speaking about, and knowing that you're Ukrainian, I think if it were female women in power, we would not be in this shit whore. And in the Philippines, we just saw it yesterday. I mean, really, and I'm not saying again it's a man versus women thing, but I really appreciate that, because I know where you are speaking from. We live in odd times. We live in very odd times, and it's just women really need to support women.
how about the three ladies? Any last words? Anne, is that
I think maybe, given that like it's rare we have like mostly women and some men, but maybe I would challenge everyone to really take some time today, here, tonight, before you sleep, to really think about something you want to be intentional about. Imagine it, write it down, and set that intention for what you want to do. I mean, it can be like the next week, the next month, the next year, and next 5-10 years, whatever that is. But just really take that time to reflect, because I think the pandemic was a gift in a way that it gave me a lot of quiet time, right? Not time when I'm rushing around, I'm always in meetings, and etc. It really gave me time to take a step back and really think and reflect. And I think this is really the time that a lot of people also got to become a little bit more self-aware. And I think that's really the gift of the pandemic. So maybe take that time and see what comes out from it. Maybe you'll be the next female president of Philippines, of Ukraine, or whatever kind of countries, right? So if we've inspired that tonight, that would be awesome, right? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So once again, please give round of applause to Mia Bulatao, CEO of Pick.a.roo, Anne Gonzalez, CEO and co-founder of SA, Angeline Tham, founder of Angkas, and Mila Bedrenets, Chief Growth Hacker of Tonik. Thank you so much, guys, for being with us.